I'm going to introduce to you today David Green, Retail Industry Manager with Google. So please, thank you, come up, David.
Oh, hello everybody. Let me just kick off. So, a little introduction about myself. So, as I said, I work for Google. I predominantly work with the largest retailers in the UK, especially on the fashion side. So, to give you I suppose, a little brief encounter, the clients I'm working with at the moment range from the likes of Arcadia to Net-a-Porter. And I am going to hopefully give you an idea of what the largest retailers, but also the smallest retailers in the market are coming up against currently, and also what Google is coming up against, how the digital landscape's evolving to accommodate that, and then I'd like to impart 4 little, well, quite large areas of focus for you as businesses, either B2B or B2C, that I would highly recommend focusing on in the coming 12 months. And then we'll wrap up, hopefully, if we have time, with a few questions and answers. So, first of all, Google was created 18 years ago by Larry and Sergey. Their mission was to make the world's information universally accessible to all. And 18 years ago, that was no mean feat, to be fair. Internet hadn't evolved. There were not many places you could go to actually search and find all the wealth of information that was out there in one spot. What we're coming up against today is another revolution, a digital revolution, that's driven by, really, these little bad boys. Everyone has one. Little supercomputers in your pocket, I suppose. And what they're generating alongside the connected world that we live in today is a vast amount of information, a lot of information. So, for example, in the last 2 years, as much information has been created online as there was from the beginning of human civilization to 2003. That's a lot of data to get your head around. And this comes with problems, because if there's this amount of data, this uncontrollable amount of information that you're trying to sift through, you can't look at it in the same way as you traditionally would. So back 18 years ago, when the company was set up, the internet was relatively small compared to today. And the amount of information that was available was actually quite easy to process, and you could scan every page. Nowadays, we have information being created all the time. You can have light bulbs that create networks within your home that connect you to the internet. You also have contact lenses that take measurements of your blood sugar levels for diabetics and actually report that to your phone. And also you've got self-driving cars. All these points create information. And the way that we're getting around that at Google is that we're using a lot of advanced technology, predominantly one which is called machine learning. So why is this important to you? Because as retailers, you're going to come up against more and more data every day. And today is the slowest day you'll have forever, because it's only going to get faster and more pronounced. Who watched the AlphaGo project about 6 months ago in South Korea? Raise of hands. One? Okay. So this is a great illustration of machine learning and the complexities that data brings. So AlphaGo is a machine learning system that plays a game of Go. We invited the world champion of Go to come and test our system. And the complexities are that the game of Go is an ancient Chinese game. It has more moves than the number of atoms in the universe, just to give you an idea of the scale of complexity that's involved. And when you go back to the 1980s, and we had DeepMind from IBM that was able to play chess and beat grandmasters at that, where you're looking at kind of 250,000 possible moves, AlphaGo has a basically infinite amount of opportunities. So how do you actually build a machine that's able to beat someone when you can't actually predict what the outcome is going to be because it's too large? What we did with machine learning is, in a simple way, is we made machines think like humans. We made them look at short and medium-term opportunities and actually learn strategies within the game. We did this by making it watch, I think, about 20,000 hours of professional Go play. And then we actually, because it's a machine, we actually allowed it to play against itself over and over again, thousands and thousands of times. And what this allowed us to do was not only beat the world champion of Go, but actually come up with moves and strategies that had never been interpreted by humans before. This is a massive opportunity, is that we're able to now look at data in a way a human can, but at a scale never seen before. Great illustration of this is Google Photos. So again, another raise of hands, hopefully more than one, is that how many people either have an Android device or use Google Photos online? Yeah, we've got a few. So Google Photos is one of the most advanced image recognition systems globally. You have access to a personalized system that will recognize your photos. So all the information when you take a photo on your phone that's passed through to the system, such as location, this is my Google Photos screenshot, is allowed to kind of segment itself. So you can click by different area. This is cool, but really this information's been passed through the photo, so it's not really that interesting. But every time you upload a photo into the system is we scan that photo and we recognize all the different aspects within that, whether that be animals, pets, location, the different types of buildings that are there, and we pair that with the rest of your photo album. This allows you to go on there and type in whatever you're trying to find. So you can search for your own photos and you can type in, I want to find a brown dog, or a recent location I've been to, or a certain car that I took a photo of. In my case, I wanted to actually find pictures of my family. And this is all done through machine learning by recognizing the images within the actual pictures and not requiring you to put any more information in. And that's the key, is that this is a very seamless process. Historically, you would have had to spend a long time categorizing, fixing it all. Now you literally just put all your photos in one basket, and it allows you to find what you're looking for straight away. And we're not just interested in cataloging your photos and making you able to find them easily. We're not just interested in self-driving cars. We're very passionate about making the information that's global accessible to every individual. And this extends to the aspect of our heritage. So as a country and as a nation, and also across the world, we're scanning the art and antiquities from around the world to allow everybody to have access to them. I think there's 180 different art galleries we've been to provide and scanned in high definition all the different types of statues, all the different types of artwork and the buildings themselves, to allow people in deprived areas and people who aren't able to travel the access to this information. And I know this is probably going a little bit off topic for why you're actually here, but bear with me and you'll find out why this is relevant. So I'd like to just show you a little video about what we're actually doing to kind of bring this to life a little bit more. So I've shown you all these examples to illustrate one point, is that data is huge, and it's been driven predominantly by mobile phones. And the lengths, I suppose, that Google's gone around to actually accommodate people to provide that data in a seamless way. The statement, "we no longer go online, we live online," is very accurate. When you take into account the amount of times people go on their phone and the amount of times they spend on their phone, what we're creating is micro moments. We've moved from a time where devices had individual kind of, I suppose, aspects of providing either a photo from a camera, a phone call from a phone, and a computer for browsing the internet, to being able to bring all those aspects into a continuous computing environment through your mobile. No longer do you have to find something else to take a photo or mess around with another device, is that it's all in one spot. And every single aspect of everything you do on that phone is recorded. It's recorded, and it's recorded to provide you with better insight in the future and better programs and software. Just to kind of illustrate the point of how big digital is for every single business, I've pulled together a few little snapshots across Europe. But these same snapshots can be applied across the world globally. So, for example, in the UK, 80% of mums go online at least once a day. I suspect for men and dads, it's pretty similar, to be honest. When you go over to Romania, 76% of people research before purchasing online. That's a huge amount, so they wouldn't consider purchasing before they actually research that product online. In Greece, 64% of people use the internet to compare products, and this could be in store, this could be on the high street, or it could be at home. We know, for example, at Google that 30% of all searches online are now done based on a location request. So, for example, how do I get a cup of coffee in my current location? Where is the best place to park? Where can I buy this? All 30% of all queries online are now based on location, not people sat at home in front of their desktops doing research. In France, 62% of people 60% of purchases online were done on a mobile phone. In some countries, this is even higher. And this is a trend that has been, over the last 4 years, multiplying in speed at an extreme rate. Czech Republic, 65% used search engines to research purchases beforehand. In the UK, that's actually higher. And these are common themes that we're seeing across the globe. But we have to bear in mind that only 1.5 billion people now have access to the internet, and there's 6 billion people on this globe. So, as I said before, this pace of change this is the slowest time you'll ever see it. It's just going to get faster and faster as more people enter the online market. One thing, and I suppose this is a bit off topic, but I would encourage you all to look at different websites around the world to see how different cultures and different ways of working change the contents of websites. China is a wonderful example of this. When you go into Chinese e-commerce websites and compare that to the UK, vastly different. But that's the future. What we have here is probably, I suppose, more of a legacy of what's happened. So, a wonderfully quoted stat is that every day a person goes online on their phone, checks status updates, checks their calendar 150 times a day. It's quite a few times. I suspect some people will have a higher likelihood of going on their phones even more. Me and my wife seem to go on pretty much constantly. But couple that with a few other interesting facts is that you can work out that of these 150 times a day, on average we spend about 1 minute, 10 seconds for each of these moments in time. And this brings a vastly different way of thinking about consumers than we have historically. So historically, people would go on their desktop or their laptop at home and they would research, they would browse the internet. Now we're getting snapshots of interactions with consumers online that only last 1 minute, 10 seconds. So these are new moments in time where you, as retailers, have to capture the interest of those people. And these moments can be vastly different. And the key is about identifying which of these moments is best for you to speak to your retailer, whether it be by location, by the context of the query or what they're searching for, by the time of day that they're actually looking online. All these factors play a part in understanding what your consumer's looking for and also how you can have the most impactful marketing or sale on that consumer at that time at the lowest cost. So, I'd like to show you a little video in a second, just to show you and highlight a few examples of what the biggest opportunities are and how they also come in really the smallest moments. It's a complete revolution compared to the way that we used to think about 5 years ago about digital marketing. So it's just a snapshot, just to, I suppose, get into the skin of the people you're speaking to online, is that no longer are you speaking to them in kind of a, or shouting at them, I suppose, as we did in the old days. Now we have to listen and figure out when it is best to speak to our consumers, because otherwise you'll end up spending a lot of time and money on speaking to the audience when actually only one person's really interested in buying what you have to offer at that time. Also, a change from 18 years ago is the expectations of consumers. No longer can you chuck up what you might think will do, because consumers are expecting more and more every day. They're seamless, digitally enabled, multi-channel experiences, I suppose, just the foundationals of what consumers expect nowadays. And I go into meetings with large clients pretty much every other day, and what I see is that they have an issue with actually making the pace of change that's necessary. So you're looking at or talking to a business that's been established for 50 years, actually making significant inroads to changing from a desktop environment to a mobile-focused environment is very difficult for them. And this is where the smaller businesses within the industry have the opportunity, I suppose, to take advantage of that. You're no longer restricted by legacy systems when you're a small startup. You have the ability to go and change your strategy there and then. You haven't got 50,000 employees to consider about the implications of changing your business focus, and also redundancies and new hires that come with that. The critical aspect of how you focus on digital is high. So in the UK, 78% of all sales are influenced by at least one touch point online. Predominantly for in-store sales, that's a research touch point, but it could be when they're in store. Recent kind of chat with Argos is that a lot of people, when they go into their store, actually review the products online. And they may review them with Argos, but quite commonly they also review them with the likes of Amazon, which for many people is seen as a slight threat, I suppose. So we've got to approach these micro moments in certain different ways. What I'd like to do is I'd go through 4 opportunities for you to focus on. So I'm not going to go through how you can speak to people better on social media. I'm going to go to a more foundational level of aspects that you need to be aware of, and also aspects that you need to prioritize within your business. So opportunity 1 is mobile intent. So if there's kind of 3 things that you leave from this meeting with, is that the first thing is mobile is important, the second thing is that mobile is important, and the third thing is mobile is very, very, very important. If you don't crack this one thing, you will likely fail, to be brutally honest. This is how important it is. When you look at different countries, and I'm going to skip forward actually. When you look at different countries globally, already we're seeing the 10 biggest countries have queries on mobile exceeding that of desktop. In the US, 65% of all queries online are done on a mobile device. In Japan, it's 75%. In the UK, we're lagging behind a little bit, but 55%. These are incredible changes that have happened in the space of very few years. What we're seeing is, again, when I speak to large retailers, they're not able to fulfill this level of opportunity that is being created by consumers wanting to be more on the go, being able to purchase things more on the go and browsing in those 1 minute, 10-second time slots. So what this brings to smaller businesses is a massive opportunity to take advantage of this. When you're thinking about how you're going to market your business, when you're thinking about how you're going to sell to your consumers, basically throw your desktop out the window and think about mobile only. When you look at app downloads in America, the only growing app download sites aren't traditional retailers. They don't provide a desktop experience. They provide app-only experience. You can't go on their website and you can't order an Uber taxi, for example, on a desktop. You've got to be on your mobile phone. And this is the kind of mentality and the focus that you need to adopt when you're moving forward. So, bit of fun now. I want to play a game. Higher or lower, traditional English game. What we've got are 3 different sites. We've got Amazon, we've got Not on the High Street, and then we've got Prezibox. So we've got huge, large, and small. Okay? What we have is when people are browsing, and now especially on mobile, is the page speed that you adopt is key. So if it takes 10 seconds to visit a page on your site, people are going to disappear very quickly. Amazon's key objective is to have what they call latency, but it's basically page speed, is to have every page rendered in less than 1 second. That's the benchmark that everyone's trying to achieve. Latency less than 1 second. What we have here is actually Google created a page speed insights tool, which if you Google that, you'll find it, and it'll tell you how fast your site is, and also give you recommendations on how you can improve the speed. So I wanted to play a game with Amazon first, just to kind of get an idea of where you think these different retailers play against each other on the speed of their site. So Amazon comes out 65 out of 100 on their score on mobile page speed. So opportunity to improve, but in orange, so they're not doing too bad. So not on the high street, how do you think? Do you think that's lower? Do you think they're going to get a lower score or a higher score? Everyone who thinks a lower score, please raise your hand. Okay, about 50-50. So, yeah, not on the high street, not as well optimized as Amazon, 54% on page speed. Next one, Prezibox. Do you think they have a slower speed than Amazon or a faster speed than Amazon? Everyone who thinks they have a slower speed than Amazon, raise your hand. Ooh, about a third, I'd say lower speed. Prezibox is a great example of the ability for small businesses to be more dynamic than the largest businesses. Prezibox comes out at 81%. That's, to be honest, is pretty damn high. when you take into account all the different products and aspects that they introduce onto their site. What I'm trying to, I suppose, impart is that the largest business globally when it comes to selling products can be beaten when it comes to page speed, which is the second most important aspect of your business. When you look at kind of surveys that look at what annoyed consumers when they were purchasing online, 76% of people said it was the speed of the site. If you don't improve the speed of your site, people will leave. Okay? When we look at Google, Amazon, Firefox, Walmart, and these examples, these are publicly available kind of stats on how the speed of their site affects their top-line sales number. So, for example, on an Amazon, when they look at 100 milliseconds, so this is a tenth of a second, their revenues increase by 1%. And I'm not actually sure on the overall sales number of Amazon, but I can imagine that's a hefty amount of money. Same with Walmart. Increase, or decrease, I suppose, if 1 second on their site performance increases their sales by 2%. So I could talk to you about lots of other things, but this will affect your bottom line. This will make you more profitable as businesses, and the implications and what you need to make, the changes you need to make as small to medium businesses are not as dramatic as they are if you're a 50-year-old retailer. These are changes that you can make quite quickly, and as I said before, there's a tool called Page Speed Insights, which you can actually go on, and it will give you a list, a critique of your site's performance, and actually tell you how to improve it. These are nice, easy steps to make, which have a massive impact on your business. Opportunity 3. So this more relates to the marketing of products, but people are underutilizing the context of where their users are. So nowadays, to give a few basic ones, is we can see what device people are on when they're online. We can see where they are, sometimes very specifically down to a few meters, sometimes down to a few kilometers, and then also the time of when you're actually speaking to them. And this relates to whether you're using Google search or you're using Facebook to post images and content, or whether you're using Pinterest to put pictures online, is that you need to understand, okay, what is your message that you're trying to put forward, and then also when is it the best time, when is it, who are the best people that you want to speak to. So if you're, I don't know, you're telling people about a new decanter that you're trying to sell, there's no point telling people and uploading that information in the morning, because you're only going to target a few alcoholics in this country. What you need to focus on is actually the evening when people are relaxing, when they're actually potentially drinking at the weekend, and actually relate your product to what that person's doing at that time. Actually relate to the moments that matter, as we saw before. There's also many other ways that you can chop and change and look at the different types of people online. But again, always think about what is your message, and then also, if you were to see this message, when would you relate to it most? There is literally no point in wasting your time and energy creating stuff when you're uploading it every other day at the same time every other day, when you need to be actually making it more bespoke to your consumers. A great example of this is Misguided, which is a nice northern company based in Salford. Misguided are probably one of the forefront businesses when you look at social media and the way that they communicate with their consumers, is that they've made their business tone and the language of their business just like their consumer. So if you read their posts, you look at their site, the terminology they use within those is exactly what you would expect their user to be using. So Misguided isn't a company when people are buying. Misguided is more or less a person that they're buying from. It's a trend they're buying into. And again, you need to, I would highly recommend reviewing their posts, reviewing their site and the content that's within there to give you an idea of if you were 16 to 21-year-old, that's a key audience, who's buying clothing online, fast fashion. If you put yourself in those shoes, that is exactly how you should be speaking to your consumer. And then opportunity 4 is that this is all well and good, but unless you're able to measure this, then it doesn't make a damn bit of difference, to be honest. Measurement is the key underlining of everything that is digital. In days gone past, when you'd send out flyers, leaflets, and you'd send non-recordable assets out to the market, you would kind of take a guess and you'd see your numbers increase and you go, okay, that was a success. Now you can actually measure how long someone watches one of your videos for to the specific second, how much that costs you, what your ROI is. You can look at how many times certain display ads, different types of media have actually just been seen or clicked on, and what the impact is that on your business. But also importantly, you can see if you increase your site speed by a second, what the impact of that's going to be. You can see how targeting people and testing, targeting people in the afternoon versus the morning for your product can have a different impact on your business. So I would focus on making sure that your measurement is set up correctly and that you're looking for the right opportunities. A kind of worrying stat, and I see this all the time, is that nearly half of all businesses look at their conversions based on the last touch interaction point. And I'm not sure how many people understand what this is, but essentially you're using Facebook, you're using Pinterest, using Google, and all the other different opportunities to bring a sale and introduce a sale to your business, and then you just pay the last person who sent you that sale. So you could have 20 or 30 different points of interaction that have slowly generated that sale, but you're only benefiting the last one. And again, when you speak to the largest retailers, I'd say more than 40% are actually using this type of model. And this is extremely detrimental to them because they're not actually driving interest at the beginning of the kind of funnel, I suppose. They're only paying the people who give them the last kind of drive to get that sale. But how are you going to grow your business when you're not looking at how you influence people in the future? So I'm going to wrap up, and then we're going to go to Q&A. So connecting the dots. Mobile is first, second, and third, and I've chucked the others in just for good measure. That is the key. Think about everything on a mobile perspective. When you're reviewing your site, look at it on a mobile device. When you're dealing with queries, look at it on a mobile device. One thing that I quite like with some of the retailers I'm working with is actually some days they make sure everyone turns off their desktop and that you can only work on a tablet or a mobile. And while this can be painful, it's only painful because your sites or their sites aren't set up for what consumers want to do. It's all well and good browsing on a desktop continuously, but until you put yourselves in your consumer's shoes, and then you realize, actually, Jesus Christ, how many different forms do I have to fill out to actually check out, when really they just want to buy there and then. You need to put yourselves in your consumer's shoes. Second one, site speed. We've gone through what a change in site speed actually impacts your business. But again, check the Google Search Insights tool online, and it will actually tell you exactly what you need to change. And you can send that to your web hosting servers. You can implement those yourself because there's guides and how-tos on how to change that. Or if you've actually got an IT team, send it across to them and tell them they're doing a terrible job. Context of communication, I'm sure that people will go on to talk about when and how and what to post through social media. But the keys, I would say, the underpinning keys across all mediums are that you need to focus on kind of what time of day it is, the location of your consumers, and then also the device that they're on. You might find that your product only really sells in half this country, or actually that you should be selling it internationally rather than locally. These are all areas that you need to understand your consumers. And one thing I've learned over the years is that I'm never right, and usually my clients are usually wrong, and that the only person who is right is the consumer. They're right because I have kind of perceptions, like, for example, with Misguided, of what their consumer base is, but the reality might be that the consumer base is a lot older than I realize. What you need to do is you need to ask your consumers exactly what they want, how they use your site, and there's lots of tools available online that allow you to do that. Find out what makes them tick and ignore everything you know about your consumer and just go after what they tell you. And then the last one is measurement. So again, this underpins everything, is that unless you're able to measure something, you can't actually prove that it had an impact. Again, there's lots of tools online that are available to help you with this. I'd like to, suppose, plug one of our products, which is Google Analytics. And the best aspect about it is that it doesn't cost a single penny. So pretty much everyone likes that one straight away. But it's also very easy to use, and it's a good tool to start off with measuring your online and your on-site interactions.